Hey guys, James Brown here with Barton Springs Mill. Just an update on our starter. I showed you 4 days ago that I gave it its first feeding, and I'm going to be totally honest. I've been a negligent parent. I haven't fed it or touched it in those 4 days. Things around here have been really busy, and I frankly forgot to take it home with me over the weekend. However, you can see I've got big bubbles here. It's still just happy as a clam. It certainly needs to be fed. It looks like by the marks on the jar that it rose up to about here and it's fallen. Still smells pretty sweet and kind of yeasty. It's got a little bit of funk going on in there, but that'll quickly blow off after I remove half of this and feed it again. Mostly I just wanted to demonstrate it's not that delicate. It's not that fragile. It can take a little abuse and a little neglect. Sadly, I got into this business because I wanted to make better bread, and I almost never have time to bake bread anymore. So my starters are at home languishing either in the fridge or on the counter. I'll be honest, sometimes they've gotten some pretty funky growths on the top of them, and I just empty it all out except for the residue in the jar and refill it with flour and water and let it go. Sometimes I'll add a little rye. That's sort of like a Kickstarter to get things back up and activated, and they always bounce back and they always work great. So again, just part of our overarching theme, don't fret about it. Just feed it when you can. Now when you get ready to make bread, you need to be feeding it on a regular basis, and you need to see it rising and falling. And ultimately what we'd like to do is catch it when it's risen, and it'll have a dome on the top, and then that dome will depress and sink in and it'll start to fall. That's still considered a fresh starter, just at that point where the dome becomes a meniscus, and will generally provide breads that are more on the lactic acid producing side. If you like a really sour sourdough, you can wait till that falls even further. There are certainly other elements at play here. The moisture content of your starter. You can make drier, stiffer starters than the 1-to-1 ratio, and they will tend to also be a little more sour. Temperature plays into that somewhat too. I kind of like the well-balanced sourdoughs that slightly favor the lactic acid producing organisms that are most present when it's just past its peak. Many other people like sourdoughs that are more sour, that favor the acetic acid producing organisms when it's been sitting for a longer period of time, and or using a stiffer starter. You choose your own adventure. You really can't go wrong. It's fun to experiment. You can change the hydration levels in your starter from time to time. You can mix it up. It may balk for a little while or stall for a little while, but they always bounce back. So keep on with your starter, and soon we'll have some videos up about making those sourdough loaves. Everybody stay safe and stay healthy.